Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode of Market Curry. This is Shikhar.
And I'm Rahul.
So, this episode is also very special. We have Arjun Deshpande, who has done his master's in financial engineering from UCLA. And prior to that, he did his dual degree from BITS, Pilani, and he did it in chemical engineering, and did his master's in economics.
And after graduating from UCLA, he went on to working as an investment analyst at 18. Then he started his quantitative financial analyst position at Houlihan Lokey. And right now, he's working as a senior quantitative analyst and trader at FNG Global.
Yep. So let's just dive into it, and we hope that this is a very insightful episode for you.
It is, yeah. Just make sure you have a notebook so that you can take the notes along.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Hi, Arjun. How's it going?
Hey, hi Rahul. Doing well. Hi Shikhar. How are you guys?
Hi Arjun. We're doing really
Yeah,
well.
great,
Thank
great,
you.
great, great.
Yeah, thank you for coming to the podcast. We've already given your introduction.
Yeah.
So I think Rahul can shoot the first question to you.
Yeah, so first thing is you were in BITS Pilani. You could have easily got a package of maybe 1 CR, but you still chose to do quant.
No, not really. Like I like one quick CR is a lot of money, I guess. But maybe some folks definitely get it. But yeah, I was definitely had a decent enough opportunities in finance to work in India. I think one of the things that while I was in my undergrad, I did a long internship at Nomura Securities. It's a Japanese investment bank in India. And I was working in the P&L and attribution work for like US FX traders. And that's where I really got to know like more into. I had some basics of finance because I did economics degree at BITS, but I think like the work was there, like Greeks, understanding Greeks, Black-Scholes model, and this kind of things. I think I needed a more like I needed to know the hard skills more. So that is what like got me into pursuing this quant finance degree and like uh, led up the pathway to get into quant.
Great.
Okay.
So you did a dual degree,
Yeah.
right? So in BITS Pilani.
Yes, that's
So
right.
I mean, you did it in chemical engineering, and how was it to pivot from chemical engineering to economics and a finance side? What did it feel like for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I get this asked a lot, but I think the way BITS works is like we enter with like a dual degree. I had it in economics, and after based on like my after 1 year, I get my engineering degree. So, I like we like the way the curriculum is set up, we get to learn both these degrees. So it was kind of like I was learning them simultaneously, not one after the other. But it's I think like the economics, like the things that I learned in economics, like opportunity cost or some of the macro micro economics, these concepts, game theory, this really like got me interested. And also like the in finance you can get feedback faster, I guess, than economics. I think that was one of the things that drove me. Other parts was also it's also interesting to kind of sometimes understand what is quant or like what was in. So if you look at Black-Scholes model or the way it was came into being, it's kind of one variant of heat equation, which is bread and butter of a chemical engineering holder or like the curriculum. So I guess there are a lot of like bits and pieces here and there, but I got to like it all came together with this quant finance degrees.
So do you mean Brownian motion? Is that
Yes.
what was overlapping?
Not exactly Brownian motion. I didn't learn about that, but the calculus pieces and the heat equation, how like the heat transfer works. I think those like fluid dynamics, those kind of partial differential equations. They are very similar to what Black-Scholes. Obviously, there is you rightly pointed out. There is a component of Brownian motion which is different, but the kind of other equations and how they work, the mathematics behind it is very similar.
Yeah, I think stochastic processes and Brownian motion, Tyndall effect. I think it's very common in both engineering as well as finance because I mean, I honestly, I mean, he has studied it. I didn't take that subject.
Yeah,
but
elective, right?
yeah, the elective. So I mean, I'm looking forward to study it in the coming semester. So I mean, it's a great thing that they touched upon that, and then that was something that sold you off to a course in quantitative finance.
Yeah,
right?
and you did your CFA after coming to the US or while you were in India?
So I took level one in India. That was also I passed level one in India. That also is a good curriculum. Like the first, I think it gives you a good idea of what careers in finance would look like. Because like for a person outside finance, one would have like some ideas of what like equity research would mean or certain other asset classes would mean. But I think fine, like level one does a good job of giving you the fundamental understanding of every like a good horizontal or the like a good width of the things. Maybe it doesn't have as much breadth, but it's good introductory thing. So I did it first level in to answer your question at India, but after that I still like need to pursue that further, but I'll probably take it soon.
And how was UCLA?
Oh, UCLA was good. I think it was like the curriculum. I really liked the curriculum that they had. It was a good mix of finance, math, and coding. I think that's what I really enjoyed. I think we talked about stochastic calculus. That is kind of the math part. There is also statistical analysis, time series, these kind of components in it. On the programming side, we had computational finance and quantitative asset management. So courses work like this, where you either are valuing options, you are learning about how to code like these for this specific option prices. And also in the data analysis thing, I think we looked at different time series data, how it interacts, like, and how you can like build a strategy and backtest some of the basic like pharma French models or value momentum, this kind of thing. So it was good to kind of get those basic concepts and also to like dirty your hands in like some coding and some experience, because I think like very like the things that I learned in computational finance are very similar to what it's used in the industry for complex securities valuation, option pricing. So I think there's a lot of overlap.
So again, since considering your background, we feel that you hadn't had that much of exposure to coding and programming languages in your undergrad, right? So how was it to transition into a field that requires mandates something like programming, and how did you? I mean, of course, it was on the job. I mean, of course, it was financial engineering, so definitely would have had a lot of programming involved. So how was that journey for you?
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, when I thought about masters or wanting to learn more, upgrade some of my skill set, I was looking at two programs, predominantly a masters in finance and financial engineering. So I was kind of torn between those two at that point, because I was trying to understand which one is works better for me. Because I was kind of afraid of coding at that point. Like I had some exposure to it in some of my courses, but I mostly used like softwares or UI. I didn't actually write a lot of code back then. But I think at that point, and I feel it's true even now, it's more true, I think, now, that the way data is interacting with different fields, and I think it's really important to kind of like it's basically a scaling up factor, right? Like you can do an analysis on a company, you just distill it down, and if you write a code about it, you can do this in the same time. You can do it for like 10 companies or 100 companies. That's how like these content strategies are built up. Like it's from the basics of how investing works to kind of amplify it or get just scale up things. So but coming back to my experience, I think it was definitely a steep learning curve for coding. And I think coding just takes a bit of time. You need to like once you get in, like you should start with some programming language, you get familiar with it, you do some basic assignments, projects. And I think with time, when you like take up more independent projects, you kind of get that view of how to basically think about modeling, how to understand the assumptions, how to calculate them, and then build one and other pieces together. So I think programming, it just takes a while, but if you just keep at it, you definitely get better. And I feel for me as well as a lot of my peer group at UCL and otherwise also, there is also like an exponential growth once you get into like consistently keep at it. I think there's a lot of growth there.
And what resources did you use to learn coding? Because we have data camp and we have projects in data analytics course. What did you use?
Yeah, data camp. I also did a couple of certifications in that. That's, I think, a good tool to like get into that topic, because it has those like tutorial options and like gives you like breaks it down into small segments. So it's kind of good to get a sense. I think those are very good initial points. And the other thing that you talked about was projects, I guess. So I think that is where majority of the learning, at least my learning came from. Because when you like take up something, there are like you would have some idea of how the logic would work like, or the computations would work like, but it always is the details where you get stuck up, and that's
Yeah.
actually you learn a lot from like these projects. Because like one doesn't like programming is not just about logic or syntax, right? It's also about understanding like transformation of data, or sometimes there is just some format issues or stuff like that. I think these kind of things you learn a lot in terms of like projects. Also how to pace yourself, how to like which coding language works better for you, or there are like each coding language or each type of algorithm would have its pros and cons, and so that like just practice and different kind of projects as you take, I think you get to learn a lot from them, and then you can practically apply them. So
I think we'll have to take a step back. We forgot to ask you about the GMAT score.
oh
Yeah, this will directly go into the reel,
Yes.
Instagram reel.
Yes. So you scored 730, right?
yeah, right.
730. So how was that?
Wow.
How was firstly, and how was that experience? And did you do it during your college time?
Yeah, I started during my college time, I think, but when I was finally came to the US, I think it was after my graduation. For GMAT, I think any of these competitive exams, it's important to kind of understand the psyche of the examiner or what kind of questions it has. So, when I took the exam, quant and verbal were the scoring pieces, and then there was logical reasoning and other stuff. But I think for quant or even for verbal, I think there is part of it is trying to understand each format of the question, and like the basics about sentence correction, reading comprehension, arithmetics of math for the quant part. But I think what I think helped me a lot was to do a lot of those official guide questions and kind of understand how, like, because there are certain pieces given in the certain informations given in the question which are relevant to the question, and some are not relevant. So you need to kind of understand that. And I think the way GMAT is structured specifically, they try to trap you at different options. So
Yeah.
once you kind of get a hang of it through the official guide, you kind of try to see how it works. Like this, if you use this extra information, you will trap in like one option, C option, for example, and then once you understand like this is not to the right one, it's actually A or whatever. Like that was, I think, helpful to kind of understand that.
And how many mock tests did you take?
I think I took a decent amount of mock test. Like it's been 7-8 years. I don't exactly remember, but I think I scored well in quant. It was like 51, which was the highest point. I think verbal took a lot of work from me to kind of improve my score. And like mocks, I think it's like I think first it's good to kind of get the basic concepts. Also, you need to spend decent amount of time in examination strategies, which we would likely do with like mock exams. Like I think 8 mock exams would like be a baseline, I would say, to get you rolling. Or like because a lot of times which section you take first and which you take later, I think that also matters a lot. And it's also depend like each individual has their own strategy, but it's good to practice and know what is best for you to like the sequence and how to look at it.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, so let's come to your work experience, right?
Yeah.
So we see that you've done a lot of internships and research internships, and now that you're working with FNG, before that you worked with Houlihan Lokey. So, I mean, firstly, how relevant do you feel that internships are during your course, especially a master's? And how does that help in your applications for job applications rather? And how should you narrow down on a quant specific role, right?
That's a very good question.
Yeah. Anything you want to add on, Rahul, onto
No,
on
I
the
think
yeah.
that's a good question.
Yeah, I think internships, or I would not even like limit oneself to just the official internships, summer internships. I think any kind of project that you do in the master's course, or sometimes like at UCLA, we had an option of doing AFP, which was like a financial project with one of the companies. So they used to like give us some work, and then we used to follow up with them, like obviously continuously improving, understanding what it works, what they needed from us, and like that was a, I think, a semester long thing. But I think so, coming back to your point, I think any kind of these projects, be it internships, be it formal, or be it working with a professor on certain small projects, I think is very important. It does give a lot of experience, depth in terms of, so if I just ask, yeah, like in a lecture you learn about regressions, about time series, about autoregressive, this and that and the other, but when you actually work on a project, I think that gives you that depth, and like kind of you can place like what I was learning, where is it where it is actually useful, or like how do you like just piece together the theoretical pieces and look at like practically what the data is showing you, or like how to pace yourself through a project. I think that is also one of the good things that I learned from my internships, I think. But overall, it's good to get as much exposure and as much diverse exposure as you can. I think as a student in any of this master's program, one has some idea of what they want to do in the future and what each of these job profiles would mean. But only when you actually get some practical experience, or talking to people who have worked in certain fields, where this when you actually start to appreciate or what it means. So I would say don't be stuck on like one particular job profile or anything like that, but definitely try to explore. I think during masters it's the best time to kind of explore different projects or different type of job profiles. Even at that point you might not think it's like useful, maybe it's not useful for you, but it will definitely help you to understand what is it that you are good at, or what is it that you want to pursue in the future.
And which specific projects helped you a lot in your interviews?
So in my like I think computational finance, the courses that I did in option pricing, which was like Black-Scholes option pricing, or American options using least square Monte Carlo. So this was actually the model for American options, was built by a couple of our professors from UCLA. So I got to learn from Francis Longstaff. So that was, I think, a great course. He's a great guy. So Longstaff Shorts is the option pricing model. But I think so computational finance helped me a lot. So my job at Houlihan Lokey was like, that was directly, the skills were directly transferable to the complex security valuation profile. Other than that, my internship at Clock Tower also, which was in a quantitative hedge fund advisory kind of profile, I think that was also helpful, where I helped them in a project to basically use factor analysis using different factors like carry, value, momentum, volatility, etc., in different asset classes. So I think that also gave me a lot of quantitative background to kind of understand, like as I was talking about before, like coding, right? It's like with every project you learn a lot, and you kind of then think through it, like how one thing interacts with other. So I think that was also very helpful in terms of seeking future, like some of my jobs at, like my first job, which was at Athene, it was also in derivatives and like options. So I think that was also like everything kind of adds up in the end, I guess. Like,
Okay, and did you do any models on time series like ARC or ARMA or autocorrelations, anything
at this internships,
before, like in your graduate degree, like in masters?
yeah. In masters, we had a full, like we had one course, like one full course on time series. So there we learned a lot of ARS-GARS model, like volatility modeling, volatility forecasting, and all those things. I think that was definitely one of the tougher classes, but it's, I
Same.
think, yeah, these concepts are a bit abstract, and it takes a while for you to appreciate what it means. And some, like maybe when I was learning it, it was just like formulas where you maybe solve it like an equation, but slowly when you kind of do a couple of projects, you kind of see how like one thing is influencing other, and you kind of see the patterns in this data, or learn some of these methods. And I think that is definitely helpful in the future. Maybe even you even if you won't be exactly working on that, having that understanding will help you in like any other asset class or any other thing that you would look at.
How is FNG treating you? How rewarding is it, and is it a good place to work, and is it a good field to work? Like you're into quantitative trading, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So how is that role panned out for you? And I think you've recently started that.
Yeah. So I recently
Yeah,
started this job.
So
Yeah,
why the switch firstly, and how has that been for you?
Yeah, I think FNG is a great place to work. I think it's been growing a lot. I think in the last 3 years, 4 years, it was a 300 people company in 2020, and now it is like 1200 or something. So it's really growing a lot. It's a great culture, like startup kind of culture that we have. So I think in a lot of firms you would not get to be a quant and a trader, but FNG does allow me to do that, or like encourages me to do that, I guess. But so this, like I've this, in this job I'm doing, I think I've done quant a lot in terms of valuation models for a lot of the options that we trade. And here I'm focusing on the equity derivatives pieces, and in the trading parts I think we trade a lot of index options, some of like call puts, digital, and some of the more exotic options like clickets or like Asian options. But that has been definitely rewarding. And on your part about like different job profile, I think my previous job was more of a consulting role, where it was like a complex security valuation. So I used a lot of same quantitative techniques like option pricing, Monte Carlo simulations. A lot of that was similar. I think it was used like the approach was more about valuation, like helping companies to value their derivative portfolios or derivative options. So a lot of companies have very complex debt instruments, or we dealt a lot with private companies also. So we did not have the share price, or the products were not listed or traded in the market. So we basically had to use our like build out assumptions for volatility, for credit rating of that company, and then the understanding credit spreads, etc. And then we kind of, so all the assumptions that which would generally be available for a traded product, which we had to basically build in house, like with our proprietary models, and then we would be valuing those instruments. So that was also great. I think it was gave me a lot of insight into, like, for example, SPACs valuation, warrants valuation, ESOPs, so all this stuff. But I think the consulting work is a bit different than like these kind of profile. I think in a trading, in a hedging space, I think I can define my own job, like scope of work or any new things that we want to build, versus in a consulting role, I think obviously you are helping a client to solve the
Stakeholder
problem.
management.
Sorry?
Stakeholder management is more
Yep, absolutely.
consulting roles.
Yeah, there's a lot of art and science involved in everything.
Yeah.
Everything related to derivatives or good security, like different securities.
Yeah, and big bucks as well.
Of course.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, you have any other question apart from these, or should we talk about quantitative finance?
I actually wanted to ask you about the job market right now. Like, what do you feel about it, and what do you feel about companies not sponsoring international students right now? Because that is something a lot of us are struggling with. So I just wanted to have your perspective on it.
Yeah, that's true. I think like the job market is a bit on a down, to say, put it mildly, I think. But last year I think was definitely worse. We saw a lot of layoffs. I think like in the consulting domain, I think there's significant layoffs even in banks, and like almost everywhere we saw layoffs. I think I think it's kind of picking up a bit quarter or quarter. I think I see a bit more job profiles out there. But I think job search is always a struggle. It doesn't matter how much experience you have, or whatever other skill set you have. Because it's an inefficient market, right? there is like the company doesn't know much about you, you don't know much about what the company is, so there will always be some kind of friction there in terms of job search. But recently I think also about the visa concerns for people like me who are not citizens in US. I think we people like us are dependent a lot on visa sponsorships. So I think that has kind of been a grievance or a issue with job seekers since a while. I think even when I was starting out like 5-6 years back, or even before that, it's always been there, I think. So I just it's definitely tough. It's definitely tough, and like the pool that the job pool is small for us, and it's also. But I guess that's kind of the reality. I think I just take it as it goes, I guess, because I think I just think about that these are the jobs that are available, and then you kind of have to compete within your peer group for that. So, but I think with each, like every individual has their own different experiences, and it's important to kind of build a story and try to understand how each piece that or each project that you have done in the past, how it aligns with this job profile or what you can provide to this employer. Or any kind of interview that you approach to, I think it's helpful to kind of understand their business, understand what you have done, and kind of have a story or a narrative about how this could be helpful for this particular job profile or what you could help them with. I think it's always about providing some value proposition to anyone to kind of engage with them, right? So that's one tip I would say. But best luck with whoever is pursuing job search. Everyone.
So, what suggestions would you have for someone looking for an internship or job right now? Would it be networking, or would it be working on your own skills, technical skill sets, or like applying to as many companies as you can? What would be your take on it?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of these things that you said, and it also like each individual would have a different strategy to approach this. Some people just like to apply to like a significant bunch of companies, like 150 companies every day, and I think there's some benefit to that, making sure you reach as many people as you can. But at the same time, it's also important to kind of look at what skill set that you have at this point, and if like your current resume or current skill set is not exactly matching to your target roles, maybe then it's good to kind of get some projects under your belt, be it an official, as I was talking before, like be it an official internship or official project, or it could just be something like, I think right now there are a lot of resources available online, even a lot of things that one would be doing in a master's program. You could just tweak some of the things and like do a separate project. Like some of the projects that I did was flattener steepener strategies, or some replicating some of the papers. I think that was very helpful to kind of understand these things. And it also, like, basically what you want to do it when you're applying is firstly it's to get a foot in the door, be it referrals, be it networking, be it going to certain events for wherever recruiting is happening. But the other part is also you need to have a good value proposition, right? You need to have a good resume and like work towards it, because everyone starts out sometime, so you cannot have everything on the first day. But I think it's good to slowly build into it. And when you're specifically targeting certain job profiles, as I was saying, it's good to kind of have something talk to with them, like in the interview. So that's when any projects that you have done, or even some of the learning or reading that you have done on the market, or on some of the new techniques, would be really helpful to have some conversation. And make sure to ask questions to the interviewer because that shows that you are really interested in this job. You're interested, like you're not just wasting their time by answering their questions and you don't have anything to ask them. That is not a good indicator to the employer to kind of think whether you're really interested in this job. So that is another tip that I would share that really helped me.
I mean, last question from my side. I mean, quantitative finance itself is very dynamic. It's constantly changing. So how do you keep yourself up to date with all the latest trends? I mean, be it artificial intelligence or anything of that sort. How do you keep up to date with it, and how do you apply that in your job? And that would be my question.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I think it's really important for anybody. Like, I think for students, they already are, you guys are already learning different courses, and so that you are already doing that work. but sometimes people, after they get a job, they kind of forget to kind of keep working towards acquiring different skills. I think it's really helpful. And even for students, I would say suggest that attend guest lectures, look for even if it is not in your school, there are a lot of these universities, there are business schools, there are schools of economics, finance, or some or the other, like maybe some computation school would have some specific things that you might interest you. So I think it's really important to keep yourself updated, and the only way you can do that is as many sources as you can have. Like I was just talking about guest lectures. If you're a working professional like me, there are a lot of webinars that are available on, like it's good to be active on LinkedIn. You kind of get to see what your peer group is doing, what other people are kind of the research that are presenting or different ideas. Also attending conferences, CFA is a good way to kind of connect with people, network with people. And some of the like, I think this is very cliche, but like Wall Street Journal, or looking at just keeping abreast of the market. And I think one of the like mantras that I use is like, if you cannot run, walk; if you cannot walk, crawl, right? So I think it's fine if you cannot like read research papers every week or try to replicate them, but it's good to get some sense, like at least read basic news or try to follow what is going on in the market. Like a lot of times there are financial, like bank runs which happened last year, or just what happens with crypto. If you like, I think all these things, it's good to kind of keep a track on it, and it will only add up to you slowly and surely. Maybe firstly it's not very, it might be a bit boring to just follow news, but maybe just sign up a news articles who you get some summary or something like that. But it's really helpful to keep abreast of what developments are happening, because it's like there's so many things happening, and yeah, it's really helpful.
Makes sense.
It was great. This episode was so good.
Yeah,
so good.
It was great.
Yeah. I think I learned a lot.
Yep. We believe it will be really helpful for the people watching it as well.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Arjun.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out.
Thank you so much. If you have any concluding statements or anything you would want to say to the audience, then this would be the time. Else we can just wrap it.
No, it was great. I think I want to thank you guys, and it's a good thing that you are doing this with this podcast. It's good to kind of spread more awareness, more information out there for anybody who wants to look at this different job roles, or switching their career, or just taking up a master's program. And I think yeah, it's good to meet you guys. And I think overall I would say that like quant finance is a big like it's a big field now. It's becoming like there's a spectrum of jobs that are available, from less quant heavy, like less coding heavy, to more coding heavy, or less mathematical to more mathematical. I think there's just a plethora of jobs available, and don't just focus on like couple of like maybe trading or quant research or 2-3 like buzzwords, but there's just a lot of jobs out there. And I think as one explores more and like reads up more, connects with people, even views podcasts such as these, I think it's good to kind of get what are the options available. And yeah, so good luck to all your viewers and you guys as well in terms of your program and jobs at the end of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arjun. Thank you.